Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Hey, can you even say the word serendipitous? I barely could say it, let alone spell it. But have you wondered how to live a serendipitous life? This show's for you. Good morning, Giants. Young and small, and old and large. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, and this is Nicholas T. Smith, all the way from San Diego, California, I think.
Can you guys hear me all this way away? So far away. I I thought the video wasn't gonna play. I was like, where's the video? And then you clicked it. Uh,
He left me in charge of the controls, which was bad.
is serendipitous? Is that a sea monster?
That's I can't even spell serendipitous. If it came to a spelling bee to save my life,
That's a tongue twister.
it'd be really low odds of me surviving.
Yeah. Well, we got some viewers. We got some people that are up early with us.
Hi,
It's
viewers.
it's 6 a.m. here and
Yeah,
I don't know, 7 a.m.
it's
where you
probably
are.
East Coast people.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
been up for 5 hours, wondering when we're gonna get up. We're up. Here we are.
barely.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about some adventure.
Well, they've been waiting for your musings.
Yeah, the musings of Nick Smith. I don't even know what the word muse means, but it's in amusement. So it's got to mean something. I'll have to look it up when I get home.
This could be entertaining.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll tell you kind of the events that led up to being in San Diego. Um, about 2, 3 months ago, I think I'm going to go into quitting my job too.
Let's do
But
it.
my sister says, "Hey, you should come to San Diego. There's somebody you should meet." Well, my sister has this propheticness about her. She has visions for me, and she didn't know who I was going to meet, but she said that I needed to come to San Diego and that I would meet somebody when I'm here. And so I listened. I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So about 2, 3 months ago, I schedule San Diego with my work. I'm working at the time at General RV, and I just schedule roughly when I would go, and then a series of events started to happen. Pretty amazing. So I was thinking I would go in about 2 months from that point, which would have been about 2 weeks ago. And so I plug it in my calendar, and life goes on. Well, I have this conversation with Steve Hardison early one morning on a Saturday, and I feel inspired. And I go into my work, and we're sitting around the table, and we're talking, and I'm looking at everybody in the room, and I'm looking and listening to them. We have a new manager that's doing his acceptance speech, and I throw up my hands and I said, "I think I'm done." And they go, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to quit." And they go, "Do you want to talk about it?" And I go, "Nope, I'm completely inspired by all of this. I'm going to go." Uh, and I walked out.
Do you
I
want to
walked out the
talk
door.
about it, Nick? Nope.
I walked out the door. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything. I just felt this energy to quit. And I was speaking before I knew it.
Not
And
we are live. We might
we
not
are
be
live,
alive,
Steve.
but we are
Yes,
live.
we don't know how this is going to go, but it's going to go.
It's going.
Well, I quit my job, and I didn't know I was going to quit my job. Uh, and so Nick, take the
I think the beanie off your head.
cue.
Has
Light
anyone
bulb.
ever seen you without a hat?
No.
Me neither. Anyway, keep going. This is great.
Anyway, so I free fall for a minute. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I left, and things started to transpire in a positive way. But I didn't know that. I was planning on coming to San Diego last week on the 19th, and oh, my ceiling fan. You like that? Let me align it. somewhere. I can't get it to a line. But so I plan on coming to San Diego last week on the 19th. And I had a friend that was going to come with me. And she ended up not being able to make it because it was her son's birthday. And so she asked if we could move it. And because I had flexibility now, I said, yeah, let's move it. So we moved it to the 26th. Well, on the 26th, I found out she couldn't come. And so it was just me. So I ended up being on my own. The timing was perfect. That date was perfect. So it was like she wasn't meant to come. But that change was needed. And I don't think I would have made that change had she not mentioned it. And so it was a subtle serendipitous moment where she decided not to come, and I came down to San Diego on my own. And on the drive down, I got this craving for ice cream. And that's pretty random. You know, I ate ice cream in the summer, but when it's 44 degrees and snowing sideways, you don't really like ice cream. But I had this craving for ice cream. I get to St. George and I go to one particular place. That was a place that was calling to me. And it was Larson's Frost Top. And I look in the window and there's these two kids. I see two kids and their grandma sitting there eating ice cream. And I think, wow, I'm gonna take them a couple of books. Why not? I had a case of books with me. And so I go in and order a shake. And then I take these two books over. Well, there's three kids, not two, but I only saw two. And so I take these two books over and the kids see the books and they say, "You're the Giants." And I'm like, "What?" And they said, "I have that book." One of the kids said, "I have that book. I was at Panorama when you taught." And the other two kids didn't get a book. And so I grabbed two books, specifically two books, and there were three kids, and one of them already had the book. So it was no accident that I grabbed two books, not three, or any other number, right? I could have grabbed one, but I grabbed two books, and we chatted, and they asked for a picture, so we grabbed pictures and captured the moment, and I posted about that. So that was one of the serendipitous moments. Which was pretty incredible. So I decided through the week, for the rest of the week, I would follow the energy and just do whatever it spoke to. I was hoping to meet up with Steve Hardison. He was out here running up and down the coast, meeting friends, and that guy has a lot of friends. Just a beautiful human. He's out there delivering. I shipped him 3 cases of books. He gave every one of those books away to some incredible people. And I didn't know he was doing this too, but I had written a chapter for his book, and he was sharing that chapter with all these people. He printed it out and put it in there, or put it. Holy crap, man! It's put it in there. Put it in there. It's early. Forgive me. So he puts it in there. Well, the chapter that he put in there was my story of how the book came about, and I'll share that with the tribe, and I'll post that so you guys can read that. But it's the journey of how this book came about. And I didn't realize that until you sent me that picture and said, "Does this look familiar?" And I didn't know he was doing that, which in the end, I'm like, wow, that is pretty cool that he did that. All of it, that he did that. So anyway, I come out and have this case of books with me, and I decide I'm going to follow the energy of the day. Instead of hanging out on the beach all day, I'm going to follow the energy and see where it leads me. So I would meet up with people that I knew and people that I didn't know and give them books. And I met up with this guy yesterday or the day before named Daniel. He's a tribe member now, and we had a great conversation. He's an author. He's a hypnotist. He had met you and Steve the day before at a gelato shop. And I'll tell you about that too. That gelato owner is amazing. And we're going to have him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting with this Daniel, and as we're talking, Daniel said, "Yeah, I had this impression to give Steve a gift. He's given me a book, and I knew he was taking gifts up and down, so I wanted to give him a gift." So he gives him a gift, and he says, "I'm not going to tell you what that is because that's Steve's story to tell." And I said, "Okay," and that was it. That's all he said. Well, the next day, yesterday, I decide again to go up the coast, and I wear my Bob Ross shirt that says no mistakes, just happy accidents. And I decided I'm going to follow that today.
You have to. When you wear a Bob Ross shirt, you got to live a Bob Ross life.
I started painting my life, right? Just beautiful. That little tree over here,
Yeah.
nice little bird.
Yeah.
Bird, we like a bird. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I could talk like that. I think I could talk like Bob Ross. Isn't it beautiful? It's serendipitous. So anyway, I do breakfast in the morning. Actually, let's start with the show. So 7 a.m. I do park bench. Technology fails, and our guest Lyra was on from Scotland, and she was on live with us. And the technology failed. My Wi-Fi failed completely, and she was sitting there so patient. And this is a woman that has PTSD and anxiety, and really was looking to get some help through that in the show. Well, that failure of the technology was a great analogy for life for her, and she hung with it, which was awesome. So we jumped back on the phone and got back on and had a great conversation around anxiety and PTSD. And we were able to use that experience of things failing, just like life sometimes will go other than planned. It's not a failure, it's just other than what we planned. And we used that to serve her. And so by the end of the call, she was just feeling really confident and ready to dive into shifting. And so that was one synchronistic moment. It was a small one. That technology failed, and it gave us. Yeah, I love this. This is our favorite statement. And then, so I go in and have breakfast after that with Maureen Pisani. You guys are doing the show. That freed me up to be able to travel. So I go meet with Maureen Pisani, who's a beautiful human being. Um, so we sit for about 2 hours. We have breakfast and we sit and chat. So think about the timing of this, right? The timing of everything. We sit for 2 hours. We don't rush. There's no pressure. There's nothing. I don't have anything on the backside of it. We just take our time and enjoy the conversation. And she gives me a couple of her books. She signed one for me, and I go up the coast. She says I should go to La Costa, which is a shore just right down the road where you drive up right on the sand. So I drive up on the sand. I go lay out on the beach for a minute, take some pictures, build a rock stack, just normal human stuff.
Just
Yeah. So I build a little rock stack. It was small, like you can zoom in on everything. So everything's big when you zoom in on it. So I
the
zoomed
rocks
in
were
on
like
it.
this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the
Twink,
thing was
twink.
I couldn't even see where the camera is. It's like so I build this rock stack. I sit there on the beach, just really enjoy my time. There's no rush, right? And then I decide I'm going to go up to Santa Monica, which is about an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, roughly. I decided I was going to go up there and meet a few people. And I was going to meet Simone, who's the owner of the gelato shop. I was going to meet up with Julia, who's another giant that was on the show. And then if it worked out, I was going to meet up with Steve Hardison. I wasn't sure if that was going to be a possibility, but I was willing to ask, And so he and I connected on the way up, and I said, "Hey, I'm about an hour and 18 minutes away, or an hour and a half away from Santa Monica. Any chance you're going to be close?" Well, it ends up he's coming south, and so our paths are going to cross, and so we meet up. We end up meeting up only for a few minutes. It was perfect though. Um, he pulls into the parking lot. I'm sitting in my car, and his buddy Gary comes out, and he's like, "Are you Nick?" Because I'm sitting there with my door open. The sunshine is warm. It's about 80 degrees, so it was really nice out. So I had the door open. And he comes up and he said, "I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." No, he didn't. But he's a good friend of Steve's. Just one of the nicest guys I've met. In a few minutes, you can tell he's just a loving human being. And then Steve pulls up. He's got his black Porsche and his Mastery license plate. I'll post some pictures today of these things. But Steve comes up, gives me a hug, gives Gary a hug, and just a loving human being. We take our shoes off and grab some pictures of our toenails. His are painted, mine are painted. So we got some toenail pictures, which I'll share with you, which is yeah, don't laugh too hard.
I love it.
Some symbolism. So mine has my toes have an X on them, which means that wherever I am is exactly where I should be. That's the symbolism of the stone, right? Well, at the end, I give Steve a few more books, and as I was driving up, I felt impressed that I should give him this pewter stone that I have. and it's a smooth polished stone, and it's round. And I was thinking, I'm going to give that as a gift to Steve. And it's one of my favorite things. I love it. It's heavy, heavy metal. It's like rock. It's it's just this stone that's beautiful and it has meaning. And so at the end, I go to and hand this stone to Steve, and he opens his hand and he sees it, and he's shocked, and he says, "Oh, I don't know what the exact words, but something along the lines of, are you serious? This is the second one I've received in a few days." And I go, "What?" He go, "Yeah, I just got a heart-shaped pewter stone the other day." And I go, "Was it Daniel?" And he goes, "Yeah, how did you know that?" And I said, I don't know, but I felt impressed to give this to you. And I was having a conversation with Daniel, and he said he gave you a gift, but he wouldn't tell me what it was. We had no idea. And so we both ended up giving the same stone. I would have never brought that stone with me from Utah. I would have left it on my desk, but something pushed me to bring it. And I ended up giving that as a gift, and that was the gift that Daniel gave as a heart shape. So that was another serendipitous moment, just a moment that you can't explain. It was beautiful that we both gave a polished pewter stone, which is not easy to access, not easy to get. And then so Steve leaves. We grab a few pictures, and then he leaves and goes with Gary. Yeah, and then I drive up to Santa Monica, and I grab a box of books and posters, and I walk across the street and to the Dolcenero, the gelato shop, and I meet with Simone, a little Italian guy, just an amazing person. And we sit and talk, and I asked him, "So how do you know Steve?" And he's like, "I don't know Steve.
I don't
They
know
met,
that guy.
they met a few days ago." Steve, you're gonna love this because I'm gonna have him on the show to share this. He goes, he's one of those special customers. Holds up his fingers, quote marks. He's one of those special customers. He's like, I start getting texts from this guy named Steve Hardison, and I was starting to think, oh great, this is one of those special customers. And he goes to bed at midnight the night before. He doesn't know Steve. He doesn't have experience before this weekend. Uh, so he goes to bed at like midnight, and Steve's up at 7:30. Hey, I'm at your gelato show. He sends him a picture, and he's responding to Steve like he's one of those special customers. He doesn't realize who Steve Hardison is, right? Um, not in a way of he's important, but Steve's one of those guys that when you meet him, it changes your world, and so in a positive way. And so the guy meets Steve Hardison. He ends up coming down to the shop, but he's interacting from that space. So this is a special customer, and then he gets to know him. And Steve gives him my book, and he reads my story, and he reads the book. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is my story. This is the story of my life." And we sat and talked about his journey, and I'm going to have him on the show, and we'll have him share his story because it's incredible. He came to Italy. He came from Italy to the U.S. to learn English, and he didn't know any English, but he got here. He's like, "This is amazing. I want to be here," and he wanted to be here. He knew that's where he belonged, and so he ended up going back to Italy after a few months, and he wanted to come back. And so his way of doing that was to own a gelato shop. He's like, the most logical thing I could do is own a gelato shop. Well, it's not like he has a family history or anything like that. So he comes and opens a gelato shop in Santa Monica, and he's never owned a business like that. He doesn't speak any English. He doesn't even know how to make gelato. He's got no family recipe. There's nothing that would say that he should be in gelatos. And here he comes up with his own recipe. He learns how to make gelato in America, and he's Italian, that speaks Italian. He doesn't speak any English. Well, he does now, but back then he didn't. And that was about 2011. So he
I was gonna
found a
say,
way.
wow, you had a conversation in Italian,
I spoke to him in Italian. Yeah.
and then I spoke to him in Italian, and I
Yeah.
don't speak Italian.
He told the story, but it was like he said yes to life, and he found a way. He found a way. And then he said, I've been sharing the book with my family, and they are all Italian, and they can't get the book in Italian. How would you feel if I translated it to Italian? And I said, yeah, yes. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but the answer is yes. So we'll figure it out. It's and so we had that conversation around it, being translated, but also his journey. This is a guy, Italish. We'll translate it to Italish.
That's hellish.
Italics. We'll translate it to italics. The whole thing. Uh, yeah, Simone, Steve, he is a giant. That Simone is a giant, and you are a special customer. You're amazing. Um, but the whole experience, you think about it, is there was a connection that had it work out so that Steve would be at that store, and I don't know what that was, but there was a connection there, and it aligned so that that guy Simone could get my book, and that we could have a conversation, and that there would be an opportunity to translate that book to Italian. And when my sister said, going all the way back, there's somebody for you to meet, my impression was that's the guy I was supposed to meet. You know, um, man, get emotional on that. Uh, it's incredible. So that wasn't the end of it. Like it just kept going. There was more. So there were more people to meet. I mean, it's 6:30 at night, 6 o'clock at night. Julia, who's on the show, I have a hard time saying her name, or I'd say it's Torga Yavska or Yavska. She's from
That
Russian.
that's pretty close.
She came to America when she was 5 years old with her family, and her father was in the Ukraine war. His entire family was killed by the Nazis, and she shared this story with me. And she's telling me. So we end up meeting up. So I was saying, I don't know if I can go for a hike with you. She asked if we could go for a hike. So I don't know if I have time for that because I've got to get back to San Diego because I made a commitment to my nephew that I would be there and get him a book. Well, so she and I ended up going for a walk. There ended up being plenty of time to do that when I got to where she was. And I don't remember where it was, but it was the most gorgeous view that I've ever seen. I'll look it up and I'll post it. But we were talking, and she's talking about a program that unites light workers and people that are doing positive work together to move forward in one direction rather than being scattered. Rather than it being scattered goodness and scattered light, she wants to bring it all together. So we talked about that. And the timing was right so that we could have that conversation. Like the timing throughout the whole day was perfect, and I wasn't planning it that way. It just ended up being that way. And so when you're following the energy of the day, it's like you can do no wrong. Like you might have some ideas of how it could look, and you might go out there and plan it, but it doesn't need your planning. It just works. And so I was following the intuitions of the day, not knowing I'm following the intuitions of the day. Torgo
He's gonna
Vitskaya.
try again.
Love it time. Yeah, she's beautiful. What an incredible human. She's an opera singer. She's a coach. She runs a successful business, not a sucky business, a successful business. She's incredible. I really enjoyed the time with her. So I got these conversations with beautiful people. So that ends, and I drive all the way to San Diego. It's about 2 hours away, and I'm rushing to get to my nephew's house because he's in the Navy and he's got to work early in the morning. But I was an hour later than I was planning to be with him, and it was perfect. So he waited up, and we had a beer together, and we're talking, and I haven't connected with this nephew really ever. When my mom passed, he was there at the funeral, and that was about 5-6 years ago. And but we really connected, and I was able to just sit in his space, and so I guess he had received a book, but he had given it away. And so I took him a book, a signed copy. His wife had said to him, I hope he brings me a book. And I did, and there was no conversation around that. I just brought him a book. I saved one book out. It was my last
Isn't that
book.
interesting? Like a lot of our giants, like they end up getting a copy and then they end up giving it away. We call
Yeah,
it the Steve Hardison effect.
yeah, yeah.
We
And
try
it's
to give
signed,
gifts and then they
it's
then they
like,
give them away.
Dear Steve, this is for you. Do not give it away. And then he gives it to somebody else. And they're like, this
Blesses
doesn't
their
make any
lives.
sense, but I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's
Such a powerful lesson in that.
yeah. The cool thing about this whole experience is I was able to make connections with people. It was way more fun. way more enjoyable than sitting on a beach. And I did get some beach time, but my intention for yesterday was to sit and do nothing, ride a bike up and down the beach, just enjoy it. But when I woke up, that all shifted. It was like, put on your Bob Ross shirt and get on the road. That was the feeling. And so no mistakes, just happy accidents all day long. It was serendipitous. The timing was perfect. And it wasn't anything on my part that created that. And even the idea, we were talking about this, Ryan, that the impressions to do things didn't feel like impressions at all. They were just natural, normal cravings and thoughts and feelings that would have come up seemingly under normal circumstances. So it wasn't like somebody tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, you need to do this. It was, I'm just going to do whatever speaks to me today. And it ended up working out perfectly. The whole trip was like that. From my sister saying that you need to be in San Diego, there's somebody for you to meet, to planning it, to having that date fail and move to another date, to have this friend not come with me, because that would have impacted the whole trip. I wouldn't have had these experiences because we would have been doing other things. We would have been hanging out on the beach or going and eating and not meeting with people. So that was serendipitous in itself that she didn't make it, because then I was free to just go do whatever spoke to me. And then, seeing those kids coming down from St. George, right? The timing of that at that particular place, there's a lot of places to go in St. George for a shake or food or whatever, but that was the place that called to me. So going there, the people that we met along the way, there's a guy named Jeremy Larkin. I was able to get him a book. I've been wanting to get him a book in St. George for a long time. So it worked out. I was able to do that. Like, all these things lined up perfectly. And it didn't take anything on my part, but a willingness to follow the energy of the day. That's all it took. And so this whole experience this week, I'm heading back today, and I'll follow it again today, in a degree, a little more flexibility today. But driving back, I have some plans to stop, and I'm out of books to give away, but I can ship some. So, people are along the path. I'm heading back through Vegas and St. George up to Salt Lake. So if you're on the path and you want to meet up, I'm going to be driving back today, but it'll be later in the day, and I don't have a rush. So I'll just text as I go. But again, following the energy of the day, there's not so much to do. Does that make sense? It's going to happen the way it needs to happen. And you'll see it if you'll see it. So
and then we'll continue our story.
Yeah. What's the other end then that I'm forgetting? I'm forgetting something.
I don't know, but I think that that's a pretty amazing trip. By any stretch of the imagination.
And then Steve just posted it. Will you pull that up? Yes. This was the whole purpose of the trip for Steve.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. How could I forget that? Byron Katie has the book. Yeah. So, man, all of these things worked out. Like, Steve was able to get a copy of the book to Byron Katie. So I had signed a copy and sent it down to him. It's so interesting. The whole thing is interesting. Even the letter that he had me write, that he put into the book. And he says, Nick, this is what inspires, is this story that you wrote about how this book came about. That's what's inspiring. And the book is good, but that story is more powerful, and it makes the book even more powerful. And guys, I'll share that with you. I'll post it, and I'll find a way to do that, because it's a document, it's a Word document, but there's got to be a way that I can do it that'll work. But I had sent a book to Steve Hardison and to Byron Katie. I had written it, and then Pixar. There's another one. All these things aligned perfectly. Steve asked for 2 books. I sent him 2 cases of books, and I sent him 3 cases of books, and he wanted to give them as a gift. And
why do we do that? Why do we do what we do, Nick? When we do exactly,
we're planting seeds, but
and then we under promise and over deliver.
Yeah. We learned that from somebody that's on the show here, that
Yeah.
under promise and over deliver. Yeah, we give more than we probably could, but we want to go beyond the value in what we do. Um, yeah, it's just, like Byron Katie getting the book. Byron Katie, if you don't know who she is, she's a powerful mentor who had her own awakening and wrote a book called The Work. She talks about her process called The Work, and not the works. That's different. That's a food. Can I get the works? You order that at a restaurant. You order the work with Byron Katie. You order the works at a restaurant. So it was beautiful. He was able to get her a copy of the book. So she has a signed copy to Byron Katie in her hands of The Giants and the Smalls. Julie and I had a conversation about Pixar and maybe some connections that way as a possibility. It doesn't mean that she does know somebody there, but the conversation is just powerful, that we're creating these things in the now and they're not yet present, but we're speaking about them in the now. Things like the Pixar movie, having that book in Byron Katie's hand, um, writing it to her was writing it as though it was already in her hands. Like, if you think about that, for when you're creating, it's that you're writing it in the future, but you're writing it in the now, because it's always the now. Like, now Byron Katie has the book. So, and when it was written to her, it was written as though it already is. And so, yeah, loving what is.
I actually like this. Steve
Emphasize
originally put this, and I
us.
like loving what us, because yeah, like us all came together at different points,
Wow.
and it all flowed and connected, and without any agenda or you know uh, planning for the most part, or is just creating and trying to see what happened from that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. I see Andrea's comment there, go inspire someone. Yeah, do it. Just follow the energy of the day, whatever speaks. It doesn't have to be over planned. That's the beauty of this, is just follow your day with the energy of, I'm going to follow the energy of the day, and watch what transpires. And there's so many amazing things coming, you know, especially around the giants. And I don't know what they look like yet. When you and I set goals, we set goals and then we find out that we had no idea what we were doing.
That's true most of the time.
But we act on them anyway. We're like, yeah, this is going to work. And then we find out, yeah, that doesn't work. But it opened the door to the thing that would work. And so, yeah, it's just amazing that when you set your intentions, your visions clearly, everything just works to your favor, or it pulls away and you wonder, like, what's going on? Why is this negative thing happening? It's for your experience. I'll tell you, it's for your experience. The whole thing is an experience. The good, the bad, it's all flavor in the experience of life. Huh. Yeah.
I
Think
like
about that.
chocolate.
And so okay, I'm gonna keep going for just a minute. Right? For just a minute. Are you okay on time?
Oh yeah, let's do
Yeah.
this.
So my sister and I were talking about wine. I have one sister loves boxed wine. I have another sister that loves $600 bottles of wine. And there's a big difference, And if you're gonna get drunk, boxed wine's great. If you're looking to savor life or savor it, $600 wine is probably great, right? But the difference in experience is varied, and it's all flavorful. It's colorful in a way, and it doesn't matter whether you have a box wine experience or a $600 bottle of wine experience. It's all available to us, but we sometimes think, well, I can only do the boxed wine, and that's our experience, and it becomes true for us. And so it's not good or bad, Hugh. It's not good or bad. It's just choices. I choose. And so it's what you want to experience in your life, and you have available to you all these experiences. And a negative situation is an experience. If you didn't have the negative, like if you couldn't smell a fart, would you enjoy the flower? I mean, the reality, if you weren't eating corn nuts on your trip, probably wouldn't enjoy the perfume as much. But
Yes.
but that experience, right, of that contrast, that's what we're here to do, is to experience. And so these things, um, they give us experience. And so
Yeah.
if you can look at your negative, what you call a negative experience, as experience, then it opens the door to really enjoy life and to be at peace in life no matter what's going on.
Yeah. The book that Byron Katie has is called Loving What Is.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's 4 questions. I had the opportunity too to get that in the mail right before I left and
Oh,
started
really?
reading that on the trip.
Okay,
And
cool.
so I'm experiencing that right now.
Okay, so real quick, tell them about your experience with the frame, the
Oh
creed.
yeah. So I was trying to figure out, like, hey, I wanted to give Steve Hardison something as well,
Yeah.
and so I didn't know. I still didn't know if it was going to entirely happen, on my trip, to be able to meet with him and put myself in his path. But I decided to go with it as well and try to figure it out. And right before I left, I looked down and I had framed the Giant's Creed, and I thought, okay, well, throwing that on an airplane inside the luggage is going to be a little difficult, but why not? And sure enough, it barely fit. And then I'm worried that the glass is going to break, and you know, going through airport security and all that stuff. But I did it anyway, and got down there, and it ended up working exactly how it needed to with Steve, and showed up and gave him that. And then in Steve Hardison fashion, he then turned around and gave it to another amazing coach and a human being, Stephen McGee,
Yeah.
who I got to meet with the day previous and spend some time with. And I couldn't think of a better place to hang that. And of
It ended
course,
up right where it
of
needed
course,
to be.
we'll end up sending more to Steve that he can gift away or
Yeah,
keep.
we have to write on there, hey, do not give this away. And he does it. He's like, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give it where it needs to go.
He
Um,
does. He
yeah,
sends it where it needs to go.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's where it needs to be. It's on Stephen McGee's wall now, which is perfect. So yeah,
Yeah.
what a cool week. I mean, you were there. You were in this area last week. You and I met up in Vegas for a moment. You flipped me off. It was really nice.
I just waving. That's what Steve Hardison calls the California wave.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, it was
So
great to see you guys. And then you guys headed back, and then I finished the trip out here, and I'm heading back today. But yeah, just the timing of everything is perfect. Couldn't have planned it better myself because I didn't plan it. So that was good. So any
yeah,
other thoughts you want to share?
I think this is a good lesson for anybody that's chasing something or following something or wanting to live into their giant potential. That you can create. You are the creator. You are an ultimate creator. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And that all this stuff is here for your experience. So
Yeah, okay, so there's one last thought here, and this is Bible. I don't belong to any religion right now, but I would say that I enjoy spiritual stuff. I enjoy truths wherever they come from, right? But there was this quote in the Bible that Jesus, when he was talking, he says, "Anything you've seen me do, you can do and more," right? And I don't think he was lying. And most of us, we take on this boxed wine life, thinking not water to wine, right? we we take on this boxed wine life thinking that's it. And he says, look, if you see me do it, you can do it. And I believe that. And whether you believe in Jesus or Buddha or science, it doesn't matter. There's this energy that runs through all of us that's available to all of us. And so anything that any great is doing, anything that they have access to, you have access to, and more. There's things that they don't even know are there. And yet we tell ourselves that we can't. And this is from the book. We tell ourselves all the reasons why we can't, and that keeps us small. And so, geez, man, I'm feeling emotions this morning around this. If you're going to live a giant life, the questions to ask are those open, curious questions of what else is possible for me? What can I do? What do I want to do? I mean, it's different for every person, but what do you want to create? And just know that you already have that power within you to create that. It's not like you have to go find it and earn it and put it in there. You have to go find this program and plug it into your body and then it will work. It's already in there. And so when you are willing, like this Italian guy, Simone, he just said yes. He just said yes. Guy didn't speak English. He's like, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to make gelato. But he says yes, right? So start saying yes to your life. Stop looking at the things that are not going to work before you've even tried them. Like step out there and look at what's possible for you. Because if it's available to any human you see alive, Elon Musk, any of these people, that means it's available to you. In some degree, you choose the degree you want to go to, but you step beyond your fears into that curiosity. Like Lewis and Clark, you explore your world and you find what's available to you in your degree. It's going to be different for everybody. So, and look for your and then moments, right?
Yeah, because there's more of those coming. I can feel it.
Yep. Well, good, man. I feel complete. 100 million lives impacted. Yes, Steve. Yep. It's happening. It already is. So,
and thank you, Steve, for all you're doing as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
We appreciate the example and all the giants that have been able to experience Steve Hardison through the tribe and through what our experience with Steve. Their lives have been blessed because of that. So thank you so much, Steve, for being you.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Steve. Love you. Yeah. Love you guys. So yeah, I say that. Love you guys. Like you just move on. let me slow down with it. I do. Like I love you, Ryan. I love the people that are in our tribe. I love Steve Hardison, Julia, like all these people, Maureen, Melissa. You know, I know Melissa's at her home in Canada and they're on lockdown and that's pretty tough. That can feel really tough. And just know that I love you. So I'll be the man that'll say that to you. Why not? Why not? I paint my toenails. I guess I could say I love you.
Hugh says he's especially fond of you too. Love you too, Hugh.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see this all come together. There's more to come. So you guys make it a giant day. Thanks for listening.
I love you too.
All right.
All right. Well, that was the musings of Nicholas T. Smith and how to follow your intuition and learning about serendipity that I can't spell.
Yeah.
Love you, Giants. Make it a giant day.